the first thing about men who don't celebrate their birthdays on my list today is that they don't need a date from the calendar to celebrate their identity. Yes, my guys. Now, most of these men who normally skip and ignore their birthdays have already removed their identity from the calendar because they don't need a date from the calendar to celebrate who they have already become, especially in a world where everyone seems to be so obsessed over their birthdays. You know, everyone is like counting down on the calendar, marking the calendar for their birthdays, posting pictures for their birthdays, inviting people for their birthdays. Just know that there are some set of men who don't even completely care about their birthdays. To them, this is just a normal day, just like the rest. They don't need the cake, they don't need the candle, they don't post. You know, they treat this day just like a normal day. They don't wait for one day in a year to feel important about themselves. Now, let me tell you something about men who don't celebrate their birthdays. There is something that they value the most, and their value normally comes from what they have built or what they are building. Yes, my guys, they do measure their life by progress. Maybe a man is working too hard to invest in a business, maybe he's working too hard to buy a property, maybe he's working too hard to, you know, build a house. This kind of progress is the progress that a man who don't celebrate birthday do celebrate. Yes, my guys, their progress do come from what they value so much, and this is the reason why the men who don't celebrate birthdays do celebrate their progress. They don't need a date from the calendar to remind them of who they are. So this is the first thing about men who don't celebrate their birthdays. They don't need a date from the calendar to celebrate their identity. They don't even care about that birthday. Number two, they've learned not to expect anything from anyone during their birthdays. Yes, my guys, this is another thing about the men who normally skip their birthdays. They don't expect anything from anyone. Not a cake, not a gift, no excitement. They do treat this day just like a normal day. Yes, my guys, you know, birthdays do create a lot of expectations, especially for the people who are used to celebrating their birthdays. They do expect a lot of things on their birthdays. But what about the men who don't celebrate their birthdays? They normally don't expect anything from anyone. Yes, my guys, reason being, maybe as they were growing up, maybe their parents used to postpone their birthdays, maybe there were no effort being made on their birthdays, maybe some promises were never fulfilled during their birthdays, or maybe some men just grew up in cultures and traditions where they don't take birthdays seriously. So as these men were growing up, they adapt into that life, they carry that into adulthood, whereby birthdays are not taken seriously. So they don't complain when they skip their birthdays. They don't beg for gifts, for cake, for excitement. They stop hoping, you know, they stop expecting anyone would care about their birthdays. So instead of hoping that anyone would show up, they start showing up for themselves. Yes, my guys, you know, when you don't expect anything from anyone, you don't get disappointed, you don't get embarrassed. And this is another thing that men who don't celebrate their birthdays do. So this is another thing about men who normally skip their birthdays. They've learned not to expect anything from anyone. Number three, they value privacy over validations. Yes, my guys, this is another thing about men who normally skip their birthdays. They do value their peace of mind. You know, birthdays do require a lot of expectations, attention, validation, like who posted me online, who bought me a gift, who showed up for my birthday, all these things. But there are some set of men who don't announce their birthdays. They don't make plans for their birthdays. They don't even, you know, care about that birthday itself. They move differently. And a man who doesn't announce his plans is a man who can never be manipulated, you know, because nobody knows your plans. But when you keep posting everything, when you keep exposing everything about your life, you are giving people access to easily get to you. Yes, my guys, but what if you don't post anything? Nobody can easily get access to you. And this is what some men who don't celebrate their birthdays do, because they know very well a lot of expectations, attention, and this is what they don't like. Yes, my guys. So next time when a man is not celebrating his birthday, just know that maybe he values his privacy over that attention. So yes, my guys, these are 3 things about the men who skip to celebrate their birthdays. If you think I'm correct, kindly give this video a subscription button. If you know some reasons why you don't post on your birthday, if you know some reasons why you don't celebrate your birthday, drop them down in the comment and let us know what are the reasons why you don't choose to celebrate your birthdays, and what are the reasons why you can choose to celebrate your birthdays. Just let us know down in the comments. So see you next time in the next one.